What is going on, everybody? In this video, we'll be taking a look at the new Land Rover Defender Works V8 Intrepid Outdoors. I think the names on these vehicles are getting longer by every update. Nonetheless, so this is a Motor Pass vehicle. So if you want to get this, you have to hit level 13 in the Motor Pass. And I want to test this thing out, mainly because, well, it is a paid-for vehicle, because you do need to buy the Motor Pass to get this thing. I'm sure many people are wondering how it actually is, and is it anything to use besides the other Defender Works. Now, this is obviously a service vehicle, so you pretty much will only be really using this on the new Driver's Wanted mission, similar to the taxi update. Nonetheless, so let's see if there's any customization that can be done, which probably not, looking at the massive thing on the top there. So there's nothing that can be done. I can zoom out a little bit here. Look how tall this thing is. My goodness. So there's all the stuff on top. We got some gas, tire up there, box supplies, obviously, the snorkel. Interior looks pretty normal compared to the other one, and then we have the back of it probably carrying supplies and all that to where it needs to go, because it isn't, part of the Intrepid Outdoors there. I gotta say, though, the truck does look pretty cool, and there's obviously not much that can be done to it. Nonetheless, I'm sure many people are wondering, how is this thing, and is it actually usable compared to other rally raid vehicles? So I've been testing this thing out a little bit, and I'm kind of mixed on it so far, and I'll get into that right now. I'm going to do a top speed run with this thing, and then I'm going to use a different truck, which is my favorite rally raid vehicle, and show you why I think this thing isn't the greatest. So I'm now in the salt flats. I figured I'd do the top speed run with both of the trucks here. So I'm obviously in the Defender right now from the Motor Pass, and I gotta say, the camera angle on this thing's a little weird. I'm sure many people probably wondered that as well when they got into it. I mean, just look at that. Look how tall this thing is. But anyway, here is the interior right here. So if I can actually look around, doesn't really look too special, looked kind of normal. I noticed the regular Defender, many people love this thing because it is pretty dang fast with acceleration, which I did notice. So let's go drive this thing right now, and I'll show you guys why I think this truck won't be used insanely often. And I think the regular Defender will be used more. Most people won't be driving the service vehicles anyway, unless you have to for like a weekly challenge or something like that. So here's a top speed run right now on the Defender. I'm going to be using Nitro Chemist here in a second. These do have 8 gears, by the way, compared to the 5 or 6 a lot of the rally raid vehicles have. So if you guys are in manual, you'll be shifting this thing a good amount. So there's 8th gear right there. So speed up, I'm going to have to use nitrous now. So 163 miles an hour, 164. Obviously, I'm hitting bumps there. So I noticed with this truck, when you're hitting bumps and stuff, it does speed it up past the 164 mark. But it's kind of weird to me because that is pretty dang slow for a rally raid vehicle. I know it's a service vehicle. Many people probably won't even be even racing this thing, and I highly doubt it'll be used in a summit. At least I don't think it will be anyway. So here on the salt flats, this thing will actually hit 163 to 164-ish miles an hour top speed. If you hit bumps and stuff on the roads and like in the dirt and all that, I noticed it does speed up a good amount. Obviously, going down hills, it'll be faster, which is one of the rally raid races I'll be testing it in. I'm now in my favorite rally raid vehicle in the game, the Raptor SVT Enforcer Unit. I love this thing, guys. If you have not driven it yet, definitely take a look at it. So I'm going to show you guys the big difference here with the top speed. So here is the Raptor accelerating. It's pretty dang fast as well. I do think this is why this truck is #1 in the class right now. So the other truck at 164, obviously being in some areas of dirt, could go faster, but I do think that could be a bit of a problem depending on what race you are doing. I noticed that truck did bog down a little bit in racing. I'll get into that when I test it out in the race. But here's this truck doing about 150 as well. But the difference is when you hit Nitro Chemist on this one, it's going to fly all the way past 164 mile an hour mark there, as you guys will see, hitting a crazy 180 miles an hour. So this thing's going to be about 16 miles an hour faster than that, which is a pretty big difference in a race. If you guys are using Nitro Chemist, you could easily pull away depending on what you're doing there. So I don't think the Intrepid Outdoors is going to be used too often. Nonetheless, though, the Raptor still takes the crown here, like it has been the entire time with many of these new vehicles. Still looking forward to testing out the new Hummer against this thing, though. Anyway, let's jump into the race with the Defender. So I want to take the new Defender in a rally raid event that I really think would put it to the test here. So this is going to be the Salt Lake City one, and I feel like there's a lot of crazy jumps here, weird terrain that really tests this truck out. Now, if I'm test driving it a little bit and really seeing how this truck can actually do compared to other ones, I feel like the biggest drawback to it is going to be its speed, mainly because, well, you're going to have a lot of issues with it, except for that going down a hill at 200 miles an hour. But any vehicle could go fast down a hill. But when you get on a straight little line here, for example, the truck can barely hit about 163, 164 if it's lucky, which I do think is going to be a really big problem if you guys are trying to drive this thing competitively. If you wanted to get the pass for like another rally raid vehicle to level up, you could probably jump into some races and test it out. But I think if you're using it competitively or something, or you want to try it in a summit, I don't think this truck's going to be a great option, mainly because you have something like the Raptor that can hit 180 miles an hour on the salt flats, which is insane to me. And this truck can barely hit 165 if it's lucky, which is kind of unfortunate. Nonetheless, though, it does have some good things going for it. So it is obviously a service vehicle, so you guys could run this thing on the new missions. It's also pretty dang fast. I'm not going to lie about that. I noticed the truck's got some good speed to it, mostly for acceleration-wise at least. Top speed, not so much. Handling, it's actually pretty decent as well. It doesn't struggle as much as I thought it was going to initially. So right there, the brakes aren't too bad either. I did hit that rock, which actually kind of helped me a little bit. So flying down this way, let me accelerate here. So nitrous affects it pretty nicely, but having this transmission how it's set up on here, being an 8-speed, obviously you have to shift the crap out of it if you guys are in manual. So do keep that in mind if you guys are trying to shift this thing. You're going to be flying through the gears quite often on it, and shifting down or shifting into certain gears to keep the speed up might be a little weird depending on how fast you guys are actually going, but regardless, it's not too awful, I guess. So overall, I gotta say, how is it? Well, I'd say this isn't one of the highlight vehicles of the Motor Pass. It's more something you get with it. The truck isn't awful, but it does lack in some areas. I noticed in the leaderboards and stuff, the regular Defender has been on top recently, which is pretty crazy. That truck doesn't have a good top speed either, but nonetheless, the thing is obviously good at handling. It could be good in its own way. Acceleration on these could be pretty decent because of how they're actually geared, which is pretty amazing. But looking at something like the Raptor, you really go, man, do I even want to use this thing over that? So if you are using, or you need a vehicle for that matter on, well, one of the new Drivers Wanted races, this could be a truck to use at least till you get the Hummer unlocked, which I cannot wait to try that thing out. I feel like the Hummer is going to be absolutely amazing in every way. I also wanted to go over one of the Drivers Wanted races as well with the new Defender, mainly because I feel like most people will be using this new vehicle for this, mainly because, well, it is a service vehicle and it is made to be doing these Drivers Wanted races here. So let's test this thing out right now on here. So let's start this one up. This is going to be a short distance one. I also wanted to mention a few things as well, guys. So when testing these trucks out a little bit, and or the rally raid vehicles in general, I've been noticing that the top speed on them can go from like 145 to 150 without using your nitrous, and they pretty much stay around that. If you guys ever notice when driving one of these, go above that, you'll notice this miles per hour actually go down. I'm actually not going to do anything here but accelerate. I'll show you guys what I mean by this. This thing's doing 140, it'll creep up to about 145 or so. Very, very slowly. If you use Nitro Chemist, you will go up a lot, and I have noticed that with these, using that's 143 miles an hour just cruising. If you hit Nitro Chemist, obviously you'll be able to shoot it above 163 miles an hour. Now if I take that off, which is going to go right back down there when I take my hand off the throttle. So I've been noticing that does affect the vehicle a good amount, and I do think I wanted to mention that in this because it does affect these vehicles a good amount. I want to show that as well, just in case many people are wondering, well, does the nitrous actually affect the top speed of some of the vehicles? And the Rally Raid class is definitely no exception to that. You could definitely tell having Nitro Chemist does make a big difference. Nonetheless, though, the Defender is an awesome truck. The regular V8, for that matter, is probably going to be a better option than the Intrepid Outdoors. I've been noticing that one showing up in a lot more stuff lately, which is pretty awesome. So glad to see new vehicles on the leaderboards and all that. Nonetheless, though, if you guys have this, you could use it on these service vehicle races. At least would probably be a pretty fun time. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll be showing you my settings right now. Definitely test them out on your Defender. I think they're pretty dang decent.